In this video, we look at how you can use Merlin Excel reports to compare two HFM applications side by side. And I'll start by just adding a simple template. But I will remove the default column headers because I'm going to use the right-click Edit Header function to add a different header from the Keywords tab. If I expand the Connections node, it will display a connections keyword for each of the applications that this session is currently connected to. At the moment, I've only got one connection open to the dev environment. And when I update the report now, the connection keyword is added to the header and data is retrieved for that connection. Now if I want to add a second connection, I select the Add Connection button in the Merlin ribbon to display the login form and choose a second connection. The sort of functionality we're going to have a look at is very useful when comparing, for example, an application on production with the same application on the dev environment. Connecting to a second application does not affect the active sheet, it merely opens up a connection in memory. Now we can right-click on a blank column header cell to display the Edit Header form again, and now under the Connections keywords we see the second connection is now available to be selected, and when we update the report, we get data from both applications side by side. And we can just use simple Excel formula to display any difference between the two applications at the same point of view. And as we drill down the dimension, the Excel formula is also copied down, so long as the Excel formula is in a column immediately adjacent to the last data column. Rather than double-clicking to drill down the entire income statement, we can speed it up by right-clicking on the member label and selecting the Merlin Excel Edit Header option to display the Edit Header form. And if I right-click on the top dimension, in this case the account dimension, I can choose an expansion function. I could choose to list just the base members or all descendants, or for the income statement, a useful feature is the top descendants expansion. When applied to an income statement account such as retained profit, the top descendants expansion function displays the full income statement. Whenever you add an expansion function, you will be asked to confirm that you want to update the report. With the report expanded, we can see from the income statement where the differences occur between the two applications, using the Excel formula in column K. We can see, for example, that the first difference occurs on the revenue adjustments line. To investigate the difference further, we right-click on one of the data cells on the row and select the Cell POV Analysis option, which displays the Cell POV form. If we want to get a breakdown of this row by entity, we can choose the Entity button in the Cell POV Analysis form. And this will insert into the report the child members of the currently selected entity. So rather than drilling down further on the account dimension, we have pivoted the dimension to the entity, and now we're drilling down on that dimension. Hiding the blank rows makes it easier to point out now that the difference that we were looking for on revenue adjustments occurs only in North America and not in Europe. And now when we double click to drill down, we're drilling down on the entity dimension, further narrowing in on where the difference actually occurs. To drill down on the other dimensions, we can use a different Merlin Excel function. This time when we right-click on a data cell, we'll select the All Base Data function to display the data table form with all hierarchical dimensions set to base members, to generate a report that will return every cell in HFM that consolidates up to the cell point of view that we clicked on. And hopefully this report will help identify reasons for differences between the applications. For example, this report has identified an entry made on an adjustment custom member, and that's the difference between our two applications. Back in the original report, I'll just double click to collapse the report, remove the inserted rows and return it to its original format. And I'll take this opportunity to look at some functionality you can use with Excel formulas. I'm going to take the formula that we used to compare the two applications and paste it into the header cell at the top of the column, where initially it displays the hash value error message, because currently it's trying to subtract text. But if I right-click on the header cell formula and select the Merlin Excel Wizard Formula option, the Wizard Formula form is displayed. In this form we can give the formula a description, for example, difference. The Wizard Formula form ensures that Merlin understands that this is an Excel formula and not a member label. To show you the impact of creating a Wizard formula, I'll first delete the column of existing formulas. And now when I refresh the worksheet, the Wizard formula in the column header is copied all the way down the report. And the formula that was copied contains the if error trapping that was initially applied to the Wizard formula in the column header. And the keyword caption stores the description of this formula that is then displayed in the description row. Let's go back now at looking at multiple connections. So I'll delete this formula column and connect to another application. In the previous example of connecting to multiple applications, we looked at two identical applications that had exactly the same metadata. This time we're going to connect to a larger application that shares some of the dimensions with the other applications, but has additional custom dimensions. In fact, this application has 18 custom dimensions. When entering the password for an application, if you select this PIN button, it will store the password in your profile and can be used then to refresh the data without you having to go in and log in each time. You will of course have to remember to update this password if you change it in HFM. Now we've connected to a third application. When we right-click in a column header and select the Keywords tab, the new connection is available to be selected underneath the Connections node. And now we have a report comparing three separate applications side by side. We are able to compare multiple applications because the metadata is very similar in all three applications. They all share the same entity, period, year, scenario, account and custom dimensions up to custom 6. Which means we can change any of the shared dimension members. For example, the entity dimension. Then refreshing the worksheet updates the background point of view for all three applications simultaneously, allowing you to compare different points of view across all the applications. But now let's look at the background point of view of an individual cell by selecting the cell POV analysis from the right-click menu. And we see that apart from the account dimension that's specified in the row, the rest of the cell's point of view is taken from the background point of view. But if we look at the cell point of view for a cell in the application with 18 custom dimensions, we see that for this cell's point of view, the dimensions that are in common with the background point of view of the worksheet, for example, entity, period, year, account, and the customs up to custom 6, are taken from the worksheet's background point of view. But the remaining dimensions that are not stored on this worksheet are taken from the default point of view for this particular application. And if we want to change one of the additional dimensions not stored on this worksheet, we must first display the worksheet's point of view and then select the Instructions tab, and in the Change Connection drop-down, change to the connection with the additional dimensions. At this point we're asked to confirm that we definitely want to change the connection because it recognizes that the number of dimensions in this application is different from the number of dimensions on the worksheet. As we're actually not going to save this to the worksheet, it's fine here to say yes. And we see now that the POV panel displays the point of view of the 18 custom dimension application. But in order to change the default point of view for the application, we actually have to select the Saved tab. The Saved tab displays any saved points of view, including the default point of view. And when refreshing the 18 custom dimension application, any dimensions not specified on the worksheet are taken from this default point of view. To change the members of this default point of view, select the Manage button, and this opens the Save POV form. In this case, we don't want to add a new POV, so from the drop-down we select the default option, and then select Next, and then Next again to confirm we wish to modify the default POV. Then in the POV screen we locate the dimensions we wish to change. Let's change Custom 9 the product dimension, and to do this we double-click on the dimension row to display the point of view selector. And here we can select the new member from the Custom 9 dimension. And the dimension background in the POV panel turns green to indicate that it's been modified. If we wanted to, we could change the members of other dimensions, but we'll update just Custom 9 the product dimension. Back in the saved POV form we select Next, and then finally Finish to close the form. The default point of view is not saved to the worksheet, but is saved to the registry and is used as the starting point whenever you connect a blank worksheet to that application. To confirm the default point of view has changed, expand the default node in the Saved tab and review the default point of view. Note that Custom 9 product has changed in this example. Note at this point we select Cancel because we do not want to save the new application to the worksheet as the background point of view. By selecting Cancel, we leave the application on the worksheet unchanged. And we've already saved the changes to the default application to the registry. So now if we go back and have a look at the background point of view of one of the cells in the 18 dimension application, we see that the dimension we updated in the default point of view is now reflected in the background point of view of this cell. So it is the default point of view for an application that is used when the dimensions are not specified in the background point of view of a worksheet. But there are also other ways to change the background point of view. For example, let's consider Custom 10 here currently set to None. It's not a dimension specified in the background point of view because it's unique to this 18 dimension application that we're specifying in column K. If we go to the column header in a cell immediately adjacent to the connection keyword and type in the new member label, when we refresh the worksheet, the column is updated with data based on the member label specified in the column header. And looking at the background point of view of a cell in the column, it confirms that the Custom 10 dimension member has been updated based on the member label in the column header. You can actually specify as many dimensions as you wish in the column header. Here I've pasted in a heading that contains all the custom dimensions not specified in the background point of view. So by either modifying the default point of view for an application or by entering the member labels into the column headers, you're able to compare different applications with different sets of dimensions. Even if the shared dimensions do not contain exactly the same metadata, by entering the correct point of view in the column header, you're still able to compare these applications side by side using Merlin Excel.